Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to this video and I hope you're all doing good. And in this video I'm going to show you how you can forward Apache logs and metrics from your virtual machines or from any of your machines to an ELK server, Elasticsearch and Kibana server. Um, in my previous video I showed how you can send your system logs and system metrics. So I demonstrated it using a couple of virtual machines, one in CentOS 7 and one in Ubuntu 18.04. So using those machines, how we can install FileBeat, MetricBeat, and how to forward system logs and system metrics. And we saw in the Kibana dashboard the dashboard for the system metrics and the system logs and so on. So this video, unfortunately, the video I did on the system logs and metrics was quite a lengthy one, but this one I'm trying to keep it short. So if you want more details on each of the steps, please follow my previous video, or I'll be running the Elasticsearch and Kibana in Docker containers, and I've done a video on that. And if you want, you can go to YouTube and search for running ELK stack in Docker. So this video here, running ELK stack in Docker containers. So that's the video I did. You can watch that video if you haven't watched that already. So that's basically how to run the Elasticsearch and Kibana in Docker containers. That's what I'm going to do now. So in this video, so this was the notes that I shared in my previous video. I'll be running Elasticsearch and Kibana on Docker containers. And for this demo, I'm just going to use CentOS 7, not Ubuntu 18.04. I'm going to install FileBeat and MetricBeat. I'm going to watch the Apache logs and metrics from CentOS 7. So the logs and the metrics will be sent to the Elasticsearch container, and we can visualize it from Kibana. Okay, so as usual, I'm going to cd to play directory and git clone my GitHub repository for ELK. So github.com, just me an open source ELK. cd to ELK and then to Docker. So that's the Docker Compose file, and if I do Docker Compose up -t, so it's creating the Docker volume and the Elasticsearch and Kibana containers. I can do Docker Compose logs -f. Okay, the Elasticsearch is coming up, and I'm going to cd to play directory here as well, and I'm going to git clone one of my other repository where I've got Vagrant file for certain operating systems. Git clone https github.com, just me an open source Vagrant. cd to Vagrant and then to Vagrant files. In here you can see a Vagrant file for CentOS 7 and Ubuntu 18. So I'm going to cd to CentOS 7. I've got a Vagrant file here, vi Vagrant file. So it's just one CentOS 7 machine with an IP address 172.42.42.101. Basically, this is a loop. If you want, you can reuse this Vagrant file, and if you want to deploy, say, for example, 2 or 3 machines, you can change the variable here, node counts to 1, to 2, or to 10, depending on how many machines you want. So each of these machines will be 2 gig memory and 1 CPU, and depending on the number of machines you set, the machine's name will be CentOS VMO 1, 2, 3, and so on, and the IP address will be 101, 102, 103, and so on. Okay, so let's power this machine up. Vagrant up. Okay, the status changed from yellow to green, so our Elasticsearch and Kibana should be good. While the CentOS 7 machine is coming up, let's go to the web browser and see if we can access the Kibana dashboard. 5601. Okay, so that's our Kibana dashboard. What I'll be doing in this video is I'll be adding the Apache logs and Apache metrics. So if I go to add log data, Apache logs, I'm using CentOS 7, so I need to go to the RPM. If you're using Mac OS or Ubuntu or Windows, you can follow these instructions. So I'm going to click RPM here. Install Elasticsearch GeoIP and User Agent plugin. So for those of you who have watched my previous video about system log and metrics, I've shown you that if you used my Vagrant file, Docker file to bring up the Elasticsearch container, that container already has these two plugins enabled. You can check that here. Docker compose ps. So I've got the Elasticsearch container here. Docker exec Elasticsearch ELS user share Elasticsearch plugin. So that's where the Elasticsearch plugins will be installed. And if I do an ls inside that container, you can see the GeoIP and user agent plugin already installed. So we don't have to install that. But if you've got your existing Elasticsearch and Kibana on a different server, not using the Docker image, you might not have these plugins installed. So if you don't have these plugins installed, what you have to do is Docker exec Elasticsearch. That's the command. So forget about the Docker exec Elasticsearch. If you're using Docker, then you can use this entire command. Otherwise, log into your Elasticsearch server and do this command. User share Elasticsearch bin. So the command is Elasticsearch plugin. Install in batch mode ingest GeoIP. So if you do that, I think that should install this plugin as well. But if it doesn't, run the same command and install this plugin as well. Okay, so since we've got these plugins already installed, we can go to the next step. Download and install FileBeat. Right, we will be installing FileBeat to forward the Apache logs and MetricBeat to forward the Apache metrics. To install FileBeat and MetricBeat, the command they have given here is to download a specific RPM version, which is 6.5.4, and install it using RPM. So this one is a quick one, but a proper way would be to add the yum repository and then install FileBeat from the yum repository. By doing that, you can always install the latest version. You don't have to stick with a specific version. And whenever there's a newer version available, you can upgrade your FileBeat or MetricBeat if you've got the repository added. So let's go ahead and do that one. Getting started guide. And install FileBeat. Install FileBeat from our repositories. apt yum repository. I'm going to copy this one. And back in the terminal and Vagrant SSH. So I'm in my CentOS 7 machine, cat etc red hat release CentOS 7.6 sudo vi etc yum.repos.d elastic.repo. Paste the content. So that's the elastic repo file. So now we should be able to install FileBeat. Sudo yum install FileBeat. Alright, FileBeat installed. Let's enable it. Sudo systemctl enable FileBeat. I'm also going to install MetricBeat. Sudo systemctl, sudo yum install. Let's go with FileBeat first, and then we can come to MetricBeat later. Okay, sudo FileBeat version 6.6.0. We need to edit the FileBeat configuration to tell where is our Elasticsearch and Kibana server is. So sudo vi adc FileBeat FileBeat.yaml. Search for Kibana, uncomment the host entry, and enter the IP address of your Kibana server. In my case, it's 192.168.1.10 because my Docker containers are running on my host machine, and I've exposed the port 5601 to my host machine. So now search for outputs. Under output section, output.elasticsearch, enter the URL of your Elasticsearch server. Again, it's going to be 192.168.1.10, so that's all needed. So once you've done that, you can verify it by typing sudo FileBeat test output. So this one is going to do a simple test to see whether this FileBeat agent can connect to the Elasticsearch server. Right, connection is okay. Address. This is the address of our Elasticsearch 192.168.1.10. Talk to the server. Yes, the FileBeat can talk to the server. And the version of Elasticsearch is 6.5.4. Okay, so we've enabled FileBeat, we've configured FileBeat, so now we need to enable the module. Sudo FileBeat modules list. So we haven't got any modules enabled at the moment. We've got all these modules that we can enable. In my previous video, I enabled the system modules, and now we're going to enable the Apache 2 module. Okay, sudo FileBeat modules enable Apache 2. That's enabled, and if you want, we can edit the configuration of the system module. Sudo vi etc filebeat modules.d apache2.yaml. So in here, access log is enabled, error log is enabled. When I tried before this recording, the default didn't work really well, so I'm going to uncomment var.pods, and I'm going to specify the path to my access file. Var log httpd access underscore log. And if you've got various log files, access log files for different virtual hosts, you can add them here separated by comma. It's just a list. I haven't installed the Apache server yet on this virtual machine, which I'll be doing next, but I just wanted to finish this configuration while I'm in here. So the error file will be var log httpd error underscore log. Okay, so that's all needed. Now let's install httpd. Sudo yum install httpd. Why? Okay, so that's installed. What's the IP address? 172.42.42.101. Okay, let's do a quick I don't think that's okay. Let's write a simple index.html file. Echo just me and open source. Let's make it a little bigger. h1 echo, and pipe that to var www.html index.html. Of course, it's not ex0, it's echo. Again. Okay, so systemctl enable httpd, systemctl start httpd, systemctl status httpd. That's all running fine. Sudo filebeat setup. So this will set up the dashboards for Apache in our Kibana server. Right, setup done. Now we can start the FileBeat service. Sudo systemctl start FileBeat, sudo systemctl status FileBeat. So FileBeat is running, and if I check the IP address of the CentOS 7 machine, 172.42.42.101, just me an open source. Okay, so we can access it. Back in the Kibana, we are at this stage. We've done the FileBeat setup. We've done the FileBeat start. Check data. Data is coming to the ElasticSearch. Apache 2 logs dashboard. Okay, go back to dashboard and search for FileBeat Apache 2 access and error logs. Okay, so that's the dashboard. We've got 200, 404. So since I was using Chrome to access the web pages, you can see Chrome, and my version is 71. Let's just check it. Help about Google Chrome. Yes, I'm on version 71. Okay, so basically, so these are the logs from CentOS 7 virtual machine. These are the Apache logs. Some nice pretty dashboards. You can see the logs here. And if you want, you can go to discover and look at the raw file here. And I explained about the filters that you can do in my previous video. I don't want to keep this video lengthy one, so I'm not going to explain all those details. You can do search for a particular location, for a particular user, or based on status codes, response codes, and so on. So that's your raw file. And back in the dashboard, we've got the geo-IP map and all these details. Okay, just for example, what I'm going to do is let's do a refresh on this one. I've refreshed this many times, refreshed this page many times. Update, and the log has not made to the Elasticsearch yet. Refresh. Okay, so while it's doing that, we need to wait for a few more seconds for the entry to appear here. Let me open up Firefox. 172.42.42.101. Just mean open source. Let's refresh it a couple of times, few times. I'm also going to access some non-existent web page. Nothing. It's not there. Okay, now let's close it. Refresh. Okay, so still we haven't received those logs yet. 23, 35, 11, 36. So we should have got those details by now. Right, we've got that here. So Chrome version 71, Firefox version 65. So that's the breakdown of the graph pie chart, and based on the location. So that's the slash, and these are the invalid path that I tried to access. So these are 404, and you can see this purple one is 304. 304 basically means so you're requesting a resource from the web server, but the content you've got is already up to date. So that's what the server is going to send you anyway. And so nothing has changed. So that's the status. 304 is nothing has changed. So when I did F5 to refresh this page, nothing has changed on the server end, on the server side. So basically the response code is 304. Okay, so that's Apache logs. Let's go to the metrics, Apache metrics. Um, right, sudo yum install MetricBeat. Um, we can install MetricBeat because we've already added the Elasticsearch repository. So let's install MetricBeat. Right, MetricBeat is installed. Let's change its configuration. Vi etc MetricBeat MetricBeat.yaml, search for Kibana, uncomment this, and enter the IP address of your Kibana server 192.168.1.10, and in the outputs section for Elasticsearch, again enter the IP address 192.168.1.10. Save the file and do sudo MetricBeat test output. Right, so that's done. Sudo systemctl enable MetricBeat. That's done, and sudo MetricBeat modules less. Okay, so the system module is enabled by default. I don't want the system module, but I want the Apache module. If you noticed, in FileBeat, the module is called Apache 2, and in Metrics, it's called Apache. So let's disable the system module and enable the Apache module. Sudo MetricBeat modules disable system. Sudo MetricBeat modules enable Apache. Sudo vi etc MetricBeat modules Apache. Let's see what's in the Apache's configuration. Right, modules Apache. It's just gonna check every 10 seconds the liveliness of the local host. For metric sets status, to be able to look at the status of your Apache server, we need to enable the Apache status page. So let's do that. Let's enable that, but we also need to do some configuration changes in our Apache. Okay, let's edit that. Let's enable the status page. If you want username and password, if you have set up username and password, you can input that here. Sudo MetricBeat test config. Config is okay. We are good. What we need to do now is sudo MetricBeat setup, and then we can start the MetricBeat service. But bear in mind we haven't set up the Apache status page yet. So it will be in by default the MetricBeat will look for the URL server-status for the status page. So since we haven't set up the status module status configuration, we can't see anything not found. Let's do that first. Sudo systemctl start MetricBeat. Sudo systemctl status MetricBeat. MetricBeat is running. Okay, to enable the status module, you first have to check whether the status module is enabled. It's installed by default, but we need to make sure that it's enabled. So it will be in etc httpd conf.modules.d 00-base.conf. In here, if you search for mod underscore status, so there it is. If there is a hash in front of it, if it's commented out, just uncomment it because we will be needing this module. So load module status underscore module. So it's enabled, so we don't have to worry about it. And we can edit the Apache configuration file, etc httpd conf httpd.conf. Go to the end of the file and add these three lines: location, server dash status, close it, set handler server dash status. That's it. Save it and restart httpd. Job failed because the control process exited. Okay, so why it failed? Systemctl status httpd. Cannot find process expected locations. Okay, so there must be some problem in our configuration file. Yep, locations. It should be location. Okay. Systemctl restart httpd. That's good. Systemctl status httpd. It's running fine. Okay. So now back in the dashboard, or the server status page. Okay, so that's the server status page. We see it from CentOS VM01. Okay, let's go in here and look at the dashboard. MetricBeat, search for MetricBeat and Apache overview. That's the one. Right, so that's our Apache metrics. So metrics Apache is up for 31 seconds, I guess. I don't know whether it's Apache or the host where Apache is running. Total kilobytes, 4 access in the last 15 minutes. Busy workers, idle workers, scoreboard. So basically, all these details are from the Apache status page. This one here, the scoreboard, all those details. So once you leave it running and the graph gets built up over time, and you can look at various time periods. Right, so that's the Apache metrics. Okay, let's try one thing. Let's try and do refresh. Okay, I've done enough refresh and you can see all those changes here. If I refresh it here, refresh, okay, so the metrics has not made its way to the Elasticsearch yet. Okay, refresh. Okay, let's go back to the Nginx file system Apache access and error logs. Okay, so our dashboard seems to have lots of data now. Let's go back and look at MetricBeat. MetricBeat Apache overview. Okay, cool. I think we've got some data after I kept refreshing the page. Yep, those are the load values, CPU load. Right, the graphs are all building up, and that's all I wanted to show you in this video. Right, if you want to add more modules, you can add more modules. I've shown you how to do the system module, system metrics, Apache module, Apache metrics, and there are lots of modules that are available in Kibana. There are modules for MySQL, for Logstash, Elasticsearch itself, for Kubernetes, for Postgres. There are lots and lots of modules that you can readily use. Lots of dashboards, pre-built dashboards that you can use. Right? Okay. I think that's it I wanted to show you in this video, and thank you so much for your time watching this video. Um, if you if you find it useful, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. If something is not working right for you, or if you've got any questions, or if you want me to, if I'm doing something wrong that you want to correct me, please leave me a comment. It will be much helpful. Right. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.